everyone, welcome back to another episode of Let's Chat Reality. I'm Molly.
I'm Michael.
And today we're excited to be recording this together in person in Austin. Michael came in to visit this weekend, which has been a lot of fun. And it's fun to get to do this in person now instead of just online together. So
Yeah, this has been really fun. So excited to talk about Perfect Match and Love Island. We've just finished both of those, so we're excited to give our thoughts.
yeah, we got lots of thoughts to get into. So let's just start with Perfect Match. We had the finale this past week released on Friday, and it was a wild finale, a whole hour 45.
Yeah, why didn't they split that into two episodes?
Yeah.
It's like a movie at this point. Like, what's the point?
I know, it was a really long episode, but we got some answers that we were hoping for. So should we start with just overall, what are your thoughts on the finale in general before we get into details?
Yeah, I have very mixed thoughts, I think, on the finale and I guess, like, this is more like the format of the ending of the show in general rather than just this finale specifically. But yeah, I think it was good. I think the last 20 minutes in particular gave us a lot of answers and were exciting. It was definitely overstuffed. I think it could have been cut down 30 minutes at least shorter. But overall, it was entertaining, I thought. What did you think?
Yeah, I agree. I feel like we really didn't need to see all of those final dates maybe in the end. Like, you kind of already know that these are couples, like, they're trying to say they're going to make things work, and now all of them are broken up. So,
spoiler alert.
Can we trust that? I don't know. But I think it's like definitely could have cut that down and really honed in more on that final scene, which is the most drama part of it. I feel like of them actually voting for or talking to the couples and seeing who they think is the perfect match. But let's get into
I just think that this show is maybe better suited to have the couple, kind of like the ending of The Circle, where it's only the people who are still in the game vote on the perfect match, rather than having all the people eliminated vote, where they have personal vendettas against at least somebody there who didn't end up with them. And I just feel like maybe the format of the show is better suited for an ending like that than the way that they have it.
Yeah, I agree. Because, I mean, this is my first time actually seeing the finale episode of the show. And it did feel a little bit weird how literally everyone who was ever on it, even if they weren't even on it, like potentially on it, that got a vote. Like, that was just a little bit, they had too many people voting in that. But we obviously will get into who actually won, but first let's talk about seeing the behind the scenes clips that were not shown last week about Harry and Melinda. So that was crazy to see that. I mean, we also saw that Harry and Jess also broke up before that happened, but Jess decided not to match with Harry, which actually I was a bit surprised about in that moment, because I mean, we knew that they tried to date after the show, so I assumed that they were still together when the show was happening, or when it was like finalized, when the finale happened. I assumed that they were probably still together, but obviously that wasn't the case, and we saw that the stuff did actually happen. Well, we didn't see it. We heard Harry talking about these facts that Melinda has dated from last week.
We saw some of it.
And some of it,
too. Yeah, I mean, we saw more than we saw originally.
Yeah.
Which was... I mean, look, you could say it's not surprising that it happened because it's Harry Jowsey.
Yeah.
But I was surprised, I think, because last week I said, I think the truth is somewhere in the middle between what Harry was saying and what Melinda was saying. That Harry was downplaying it, probably, but Melinda was playing it up.
Mm-hmm.
And clearly I was wrong. Melinda, every single thing that she said was true. And I mean, look, I'll own when I'm wrong on something, but what I really don't like the way that they kept it for the end of the finale, honestly, because I think that that's something they tried to have their Real Housewives of Salt Lake City moment with the Monica Garcia reality Von Teese of it all, where it's like this big finale reveal. But the thing about that is that nobody thought the whole season long, or the week went a week before even, like saying, "Oh, I don't think that Monica is reality Von Teese," and then it turns out that at the end there was all these stuff that we didn't see that pointed to, the fact that she admitted that she was. Everybody was bashing Melinda all week long, like saying, not everybody, but I'm sure there was a large contingency of fans who said, "Oh," called Melinda a liar and said that it didn't happen, she's making it up, and all this stuff. And so she had to endure that for a full week, knowing that Netflix had the footage all along showing that she was right. And so they only showed what they wanted to show a piece of that story. And I think it just shows, like, I'm sure this happens on other shows too, and we never get to see the full footage that they had. So I didn't love the way that they did that, but I'm glad that at least she was vindicated in the end.
Yeah, I mean, I was also wrong in my opinion last week. I was like, oh, like, I don't know what really happened. Like, maybe that's true, maybe it's not. Like, now we know officially it is true. So sorry, Melinda, that we didn't.
Yeah, like, how could we even know?
Yeah, we didn't know. We thought it was like, I mean, because Netflix, I feel like they definitely should have showed us that happening. Like, why did they let the whole audience perceive this to be some sort of not true statement that Melinda was sharing with everyone, that Harry just wanted to clear his name and not look like an asshole to everyone, and like they just didn't show it until the finale when he could have a chance to apologize. Like, that was just a little bit, the editing of that just like didn't really sit that right with me, but
yeah,
obviously that's how it went down. And also it was funny to see then in the very end when Harry and Jess were like, "Oh, we're together," and then a week later they broke up.
Yeah, 1 week later.
So
we were talking about the timeline of this, that it seems like that breakup happened right around the time that Dancing with the Stars started, and his public partnership with Riley, and everybody shipping them, and they're posting all their TikToks together, and it seemed like that probably played into Jess's insecurity with Harry being faithful, I would think, and probably led to their split ultimately.
Yeah, for sure. Harry's always got some drama around him, and I don't know if he's ever going to come back on another reality dating show.
Yeah, I have a feeling probably not so much after this experience. But hey, you never know.
He gets paid
a
lot of money.
It's good exposure if things, the opportunities start to dwindle, and Netflix comes back to him for another show at some point. Maybe he'll do like a competition show type thing rather than a dating show. Maybe that's better suited for him.
Maybe he'll go on The Traitors.
Maybe. Hey, I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah. But
that could be a very different side of him we could see. That would kind of be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think he's going anywhere in the reality TV world in general, but I think in the dating sense of it, he's going to probably take a step back.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, let's get more into the final couples who were together in the final episode, but not together anymore. But let's start out with Chris and Tolu. So they had an interesting relationship, which we talked about a little bit more last week, but or in 2 weeks ago episode when we recently we talked about the couples. But I feel like their couple, like, that just felt like it wasn't totally authentic in that end moment. Like I said, they almost had a breakup, and then they got back together when Chris was talking to Xanthi the week prior in their split week. So I just felt like they definitely did not deserve perfect match, even if they were like really trying to sell themselves for it. I was like, I don't really believe that.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
Yeah.
But I mean, I thought there was potential. Like, there did in the beginning seem to be some chemistry between them, and it seemed like, at least especially on Tolu's part, I would say, I think that she really liked him. But by the end, yeah, I agree with you. Like, I think that by the end it was clear that, okay, this probably isn't going to really turn into anything or last in the outside world, but that they were kind of just, neither of them had anyone else that really they had a big connection with, and so they just kind of stuck together and got back together.
Yeah. But, I mean, we love Tolu, so happy to see her in the end.
Yeah, no, happy that we got to see her the whole season long. That was needed.
Yes, for sure. And now let's go into Bryden and Elise, which they just paired up, and obviously we don't like Bryden, so we're not going to give them too much airtime on this, but overall, what are your thoughts on that couple?
Toxic.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, they certainly do not deserve to win this. I mean, it's hard to even really like talk about this in an objective way, knowing what all has been swirling this past week with Brighton and all of these, Dash Cats from the challenge or Squid Game, the challenge, posted a video talking about Brighton's comments while they were filming that show, and then allegedly his comments while he was filming Perfect Match and all this against Dominique and a lot of homophobic conversations and transphobic and just some really ugly things that he said on both shows that he's been on. And so it's hard to really be objective with talking about him in terms of his match with Elise, but hopefully we never have to see him again.
Yep. And hope that Elise will find someone not toxic.
Yeah, I mean,
why?
she didn't do too well matching with her matches on this show. I mean, from Harry to Brighton to,
Yeah, Justin was a real one.
We
miss Justin.
Justice for Justin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love watching his videos now. He's been posting a lot on TikTok.
I wonder why he wasn't at the finale.
Yeah, I think there was something about that. I don't remember right now.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I forget exactly the reason, but we'll let y'all know if we come up with a reason or we hear the reason. But
yeah,
I don't remember exactly what happened. But I mean, that was interesting that he wasn't there.
Here, I can try to quickly Google it while you talk about the next couple.
Yes. So now let's get into Kaz and Micah. So they were rocky in this past couple of episodes. We talked about last week how Kaz ended up matching with Jasmine and Micah had matched with Izzy, and they end up coming back together. Kaz apologizes to Micah and is like, well, I really wanted to be with you. I miss you. And so then they match. But in that moment, I just felt like he was just doing that because of the show, not because he really truly cared about Micah, which like felt icky in my opinion. Like I love Micah and I felt bad for her, and that like obviously she seemed to be happy to be back with Kaz, but I think that she was too forgiving in that.
Oh yeah, it was really hard to watch that, to see Kaz very clearly just kind of coming back to Micah because his other options didn't work out.
Yeah.
And then Micah really believing him and believing that he was genuine when, at least I think to us as viewers, it was pretty clear that he was not, that he just wanted to stay on the show and match with somebody. And so the easiest thing to do was going to be to get Micah back rather than try to start a whole new relationship with someone else who he's not really interested in. So that was hard to watch, but look, they're not together anymore, so it's not like. And I think if she was to watch the show back, and if they had still been together, I don't think they would be now that she's watched it. So, look, he was really scorched during the finale reunion, whatever you call it, by the Britton and Christine, and all of them really had some strong words for him. So
yeah, no, that was interesting. Everyone was coming at him.
Yeah,
but, I mean, he deserved it. So
yeah. Hey, I can't blame them for being upset with him.
Okay, so now let's get into what we believe was the strongest couple, Seven and Alara. In the finale, it was kind of shocking, in my opinion, seeing not that much support for them in terms of winning Perfect Match, because in general, I would have thought, like, oh, we knew that they were the strongest couple. Like, other people were going to think that as well. But obviously, that's not how it turned out to be. So, what are your thoughts on that?
So I think Stefan and Alara, it seems like, were the biggest victims of this alleged pact that I don't know, call them jurors. What do you call them? The voters, the former cast of Perfect Match had to apparently vote for whoever of them, the people who didn't make it to the villa or weren't in the villa for very long, if any of them made it to the end, that they were going to vote for each other. And it seems like Seven and Alara, who were in the villa the whole time, or the vast majority of the time, fell victim to that, of just not being close enough with the people voting. And them not having those tight relationships from spending time outside of the villa during filming, that they didn't have enough people to vote for them. And I mean, they weren't even in second place from what we heard. Micah said that Kaz and Micah were in second place, and apparently they didn't even get that far. It's just crazy. And that's another reason why I think that this format needs a little bit of changing at the end, at least. And yeah, that was really kind of sucked because at least from what we could see, they did seem to be the most stable couple here. And look, there might be things we didn't see, but it seems like that was kind of what happened there, which was really sucks.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think hopefully that Netflix will change up the format in some ways so that that can be avoided, in terms of who we actually see as the winners, which let's get into it, is ends up being Christine and Nigel are named the perfect match. As Michael, you were just saying, within like we were hearing that there was some pact that was said amongst the people who weren't in the show for very long or weren't even in it, that they had wanted to vote for them because they got into the show, because they weren't on it very long. Like they were the ones who got to get there, and so they got the winner, or like they got named to be the winner. But I feel like overall, like they definitely weren't the perfect match. They matched one day before.
Yeah,
So that was
crazy.
crazy timing that, okay, wait, you just got on the show and now you're already the winners? Like that just didn't sit right to me. And I'm still team Alara and Seven for winning, even if they didn't win. Like I feel like they won in my opinion.
I mean, this is the Chris Underwood Survivor Island of Extinction uh, moment where Chris was only on the show for, it was 39 days at that time, and he was maybe on the show for on the island for like 8 days or so,
Yeah.
and he ended up winning just because he had developed such personal relationships with everybody on the edge of extinction. And so when he got to the end, they actually were friends with him, they knew him, whereas the other two that were up there, they didn't spend nearly as much time with a lot of them. And so the same thing happened here, I think, where Christina and Nigel were both not on the show until the split week. And they, because of that, had these built these relationships with most of the people who were voting and were able to utilize those to win. And look, I think on a show like Survivor, it's like, okay, well, this is the format, fair is fair, take it up with the game, not the player. Here, I guess it's just a little different because I feel like the criteria for who you're voting for is pretty specific. It's like, okay, who is the perfect match? Who is the most deserving couple? And I just think it's hard for me to kind of to understand how a couple that just matched the day before fits that criteria.
Yeah. No, I agree completely with that. I feel like they're gonna have to switch it up somehow for that not to be the case. Like I don't know what they're gonna do entirely with that. Maybe they won't have all, like we were saying earlier, like all the people who were previously on being able to vote, instead of just having, they could shorten, like make that a lot smaller and have it
Mm-hmm.
just be people who are currently matched up can vote. And I
Yeah,
think that would definitely help alleviate that. But
I think so
we'll
too.
have to see what will happen next
Or like
season.
rank them, like just like the
Yeah.
circle. I think even just doing it exactly like the circle, like
True.
having all the, even honestly, even if you had the same people voting, but rather than just having one vote, if you had them each rank the couples and
Yeah.
then used the averages of that, I think that, well, that could end up being worse because you could sabotage a couple by, like,
Yeah.
if you had a vendetta putting them last. So I don't know. Now that I'm thinking about it, that might not work so well. But doing that with the current couples, like you said, I think is probably the right way to do that.
Yeah, but we'll have to see what happens next season. We know it was renewed, and they're
Yeah,
already starting to reach out to people. So we'll have to see. It won't be aired for like another year, but
yeah. We'll see
we'll
this in 2084. Yeah,
yeah. So hopefully we don't get spoiled so much about couples on the season as
yeah.
much as we were this season. But even with that happening, like I still think it was a really good season overall, and I really enjoyed watching. And the drama obviously was there's no shortage of that. And so I'm sad that it's over now. Honestly, I'm like, oh, no more Perfect Match to watch right now.
We have
Sad.
plenty coming up.
Oh, true.
But yeah, I mean, I think that it was definitely, for me, I was more invested than I was season one. And
Yeah.
that could be just because we're covering it.
Yeah.
Whereas season one, we didn't. And so that could be a part of the reason why I felt more invested this time. But I think that also, I think that probably, well, I don't even know if I could say the cast was better. I think that there were still problems with the cast. It was too hot to handle people.
Yeah.
Too many like dated and related people. I think that pulling from more than just dating shows would probably be good. And, well, they do, but I think pulling more people from non-dating shows would be good, because the dating show people, like, you're seeing them in such a similar environment that you saw them the first time. Maybe not like Love is Blind, maybe that's a little different, but like Too Hot to Handle People, like this is a very similar show, a very similar concept and format. And so I think that's less interesting to see somebody on such a similar show than they were on originally. But I think seeing people from The Circle, people from Squid Game, The Challenge, people from even Love is Blind, just because it's such a different type of dating show, I think more of those people would, I think, be The Mole, like shows like that. Like, I think having those people more of those people would improve the show, and I think make me more interested, I guess, just personally, but maybe that's just kind of a personal preference.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't watched Too Hot to Handle since season one, so I don't really know most of those people who are on. And then, like, obviously we knew Harry, but other than that, like, I feel like they definitely need some more variety in that.
Yeah.
But overall, it was good. So
yeah.
I'm happy with the season.
Yeah. Happy, don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened.
Yes, exactly.
Well, let's move on to Love Island. Speaking of crying and some smiles, we had week 2 just finished, and we have some new couples. A lot has happened in the last week. Mm-hmm. So I think the best way to do this is just to kind of go through our current couples. So where we are leaving off is episode 10. And we just had a recoupling and a dumping, unfortunately. So let's just kind of go through each of our current couples and our thoughts on what's happened with them in the last week or so since we last spoke. Let's start with Aaron and Kaylor. So Aaron and Kaylor were the last couple we spoke about last time. They ended last week on a very tumultuous moment where we weren't sure if they were going to be able to recover from. They have. They are now still coupled together after this recoupling, and it seems like actually the last few episodes they have been maybe one of the more stable couples. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on them?
Yeah, no, I remember last week we had not seen, after like that, a lot of crying happening. Like, really, we were kind of expecting that to blow up. Mm-hmm. So seeing that they didn't, I was a little bit shocked at first that Aaron was really forgiving in that, which I'm glad, because I like them together. So I'm glad that they're still together. I do think that they work well together. I don't know how well they work in the real world, but like in the show, like I do think that they're a strong couple. So I'm rooting for them, and it was like, obviously it's good to see that they had worked through their problems so that they could withstand like some distractions or some like mishaps that happen along the way. That proves to be that they are pretty strong as a couple, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that now it seems like Aaron had his moment where he tried with Andrea and it didn't work out. And I think that it was good that Kaylor ended up being okay with it. It seemed like that he was, giving it a shot. And I think the fact that he tried, it didn't work. Now I think maybe he's able to go back to Kaylor and be a little bit more confident in the fact that, okay, like, now I don't need to try every other woman that walks in. Like, I, gave it a shot. It turns out that the grass was greener on the side I was on, and I can now fully put my focus into her and let this go, play out. So I think hopefully that stays for a while.
Do you think any of that also has to do with the fact that Andrea just liked Rob so much more
Yeah.
that like she wasn't really giving Aaron, in my opinion, what she was giving to Rob.
Yeah.
And like then because Aaron then saw how much Kaylor was giving to him, like I think that he really was like, oh, get Kaylor's for me more than like in that moment. Maybe
Right.
more looking back on it now, it's like yeah, they do get along, but like also like in that exact moment, like he was just like, oh no, nothing compares to you. But like, do you think he was really thinking?
No, I don't know that it was a whole, like,
Yeah.
100% genuine in the moment. I
Yeah.
think that a lot of it was the fact that it didn't work out with
Yeah.
Andrea, and she clearly was much more into Rob. You could tell.
Mhm.
But I do think that now it feels like it's turned into
Okay.
more genuine.
Yeah.
I think, like, look, tomorrow night I could be watching the next episode and be like, oh, well, everything I said was wrong. But it feels like to me, if another woman walks in, a bombshell walks in tomorrow, I don't think that Aaron would be the first person in line to want to go on a date. Like, I feel like right now he feels pretty good with Kaylor, and it feels like it's less toxic than it was for the first week.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. So we'll have to continue to see if they stay the strongest, in quotes, couple, in our opinion.
Yes. So let's move on to Kendall and Nicole. So Nicole is another one of our new bombshells. And she is now paired with Kendall, who obviously had a bit of a ride with Hannah for a while, and now seem to be pretty solid. It feels like. I mean, it's newer, but what do you think of them so far?
I really like them together. I mean, obviously coming in as a bombshell has its difficulties in that people are already coupled up and it's like it's still someone away from who they were with. But I like when I see Kendall and Nicole together that it seems like they like get along so well. It's like lighthearted, easy. They talk to each other, like laughing all the time, and I just like seeing them interact. So I'm happy that they're together.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like them too. I think it's still pretty early days, I feel like, with their connection. I still feel like Nicole and Andrea haven't been there very long, maybe like a few days, maybe. So, I mean, I think that they haven't had the opportunity for, like, they're the newest ones, so they haven't had the opportunity to see how they react when a new bombshell after them walks in. I think that's kind of the first judge of like how strong a couple is when you see a bombshell come in to see if the other person, starts looking the other way. So I think we'll have more of a sense of how strong they are when we have that first opportunity for each of them to be tempted with someone new. And I guess we have with Miguel. We've seen the possibility of Nicole being tempted, but we haven't quite seen that yet with Kendall. So I think it'll be interesting to see how he reacts when someone else walks in.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to see when that happens.
Yes, well, I'm sure we won't have to wait too long.
Yeah, true. Lots of episodes.
Yeah. Let's go into Rob and Andrea, so our other newer bombshell, her coupling. And, I mean, they seem to have it just seems like a very good connection from the very start. Rob was obviously at the time still with Leah. That has unfortunately crumbled quite, to say the least. But what do you think of his connection with Andrea? Do you think it's genuine?
I do. I actually do like, however much I don't want to like it, like, I actually do like it. Like, I really felt bad for Leah. Those moments were iconic when she just, like, mouthed "fuck you" to him in the
twice
when he went up to go and couple with Andrea. But I feel like they do get along well, and they seem happy together. So I want to like root it for it, but at the same time, I don't like Rob, so I don't want to root for it as well.
I think you have two minds. I think that they are a strong couple right now, and I don't need to root for it.
True.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I am. I think what Rob did to Leah was really crappy. Mm-hmm. And The way that I think of Rob is like if I'm gonna do like a Big Brother comparison, which I tend to do with most shows for some reason, I think of Rob as somebody who in week one we think, oh, he's gonna be a good guy that we root for. And like preseason interviews or whatever, you kind of be like, oh, I like this guy. And then he gets into this big all guys alliance and you see the misogyny start and you see the other side of him. Like he gets head of household and just like his head explodes. And that's kind of where I feel like with Rob right now, where it's like, oh, we were rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. And then you just see the other side of him and it's not pretty. And you realize, oh, yeah, that's who he is.
Yeah, I mean the whole breakup, I don't even know, with him and Leah that happened. Like he's like, "Oh, I'm not sure if I find us like physically compatible or like the rhythm just not there." Like what? Like he was hooking up with her like every day or like kissing
Mm-hmm.
every day in bed. Like him just saying those things just like was super hurtful for Leah, and then him crying. That was just like I was like, "Why?" Like
She should be the one
yeah.
crying. What are you crying
He was
for?
just a big baby. I think he still is a big
Well, do
baby.
you
So
think it was even genuine? Like, I don't even know if that. I feel like that was to gain sympathy from the audience, or like maybe it was genuine, but it was like a crying of like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna look like an asshole"
no,
type of
that's what
thing.
I think it was. I think it's because of how he was coming across. He's like, oh shit, like this is what it's gonna be looking as,
Yeah.
and I'm not gonna be looking as a nice person who's trying to be, even though he's not. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not looking great for him. So I think that's really what was making him upset. Is more so I mean, obviously he like wanted to pursue things with Andrea and didn't want to be seen as some asshole, even though he did. Like
Yep.
it's that's what happened. Like you can't avoid that. Like own it and like move on from it, and not try to string Leah along still and be like, oh, I still really like you and all these things. Like he could have handled that 100 times better, and he just didn't.
Yep. I agree. Well, we'll see if that is a trend that continues with him, or maybe hopefully he's learned his lesson and will go about it in a better way in the future if he decides to move on, try to another
Yeah.
coupling. But let's move on to, speaking of Leah, let's move on to her new match with Connor.
Yeah.
What do you think of the two of them?
So I was a little bit surprised at first about the interest from Connor's end and Leah. I didn't really see them interacting a ton. Obviously, we knew Leah was preoccupied, but now seeing them together, I actually do enjoy seeing them. They're both from LA, like they have a lot in common. Their conversations just seem to flow, and Leah likes how mature Connor is and all that. So I honestly enjoy seeing them together.
Yeah, no, I do. I like them. I think they make sense in a lot
Yeah.
of ways. I do worry with Leah that she is still very hung up on Rob. And I do worry a little bit that this is kind of a rebound, if you will, for her. And that once her anger towards Rob kind of subsides a little bit in the coming days, if she will still have as strong of feelings for Connor, for him, and not realize that this was just her trying to get over Rob by putting herself into a new couple to distract herself. So I think we'll figure that out in the next week. I think whether this is really has legs.
Yeah, I think it does, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, no, I think that it really has potential to,
Yeah.
at the very least.
Yeah.
But let's talk about Connor's former match, Janae, and her new match of Hakeem.
Yes.
Another couple of two OGs who were not originally together, who now we're seeing connect. I guess Connor wasn't an OG, but these two both are.
No, Hakeem also came in with Connor.
Oh, he did. Right,
Yeah.
right. Oh my God, I'm forgetting that already.
I mean, it's recent, but
Yeah. But what do you think of Janae and Hakeem?
I actually like seeing them together. I mean, I feel like it kind of came about because Janae didn't have that many other options, in my opinion. Like she realized Miguel was probably more into Liv, and we'll see that we can talk about that too. But in general, Janae and Hakeem also both rated each other to be their best kiss in the kissing challenge
Mhm.
or kissing game, which what's the point of that? We don't know. But
I know. I was like, so like, do they get a prize? Like, Aaron didn't get to go. That's unfair. But I guess there's no real prize.
yeah, no, I mean now we know that Janae and Hakeem liked each other from that kissing, so that's all we know. But and how Serena and Cordell also liked their kissing, but they're still unsure about that. But okay, in general, with going back to Janae and Hakeem, I like that couple. I think like I'm not like obsessed with it, but I think it makes sense right now.
Yeah, I think that we need to sit with it for a little
Yeah.
bit more. With with a lot of these couples, honestly, this week was so crazy that we had so many switches
Yeah.
that I feel like we need to just kind of like sit with a lot of these couples for a week. And I hope that, well, I mean, like for drama purposes, I hope that things continue to be crazy. But like for purposes of actually getting to know these couples and like about their compatibility, like I hope that the next week we get to like see a lot more of these couples through for an entire week versus having everything switch up again by the next time we talk about them.
Yeah, I mean, we barely saw any conversations with Hakeem and Janae. Like we obviously saw them talking, but it didn't seem that in depth. Like it was kind of just like surface level. Like, yeah, you're cool. Oh, you're cool. Like we like kissing.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna
Yeah.
match. Like I don't really know the depth there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like we'll get to know them as a couple better. We know each of them pretty well, I feel like, at this point, but as a couple together, we don't necessarily know them super well. So it'll be interesting because I think that there is potential there.
Yeah.
But you just have to kind of see the next couple episodes how things go.
Yeah, and Janae was still seemed to be a lot of the episode kind of upset about Connor in the beginning, or not a lot, but like recently in episodes she was upset about Connor. Now she got over it after Miguel came in. It was like a flip of the switch. She was like, "Oh my gosh, oh my god, new eyes, like new face." Like she really lit up during that. And then when Miguel wasn't into her as much, then she's like, "Okay, Hakeem, like yeah, I also like you, I guess." And I think that's kind of how she came across in like that match. But we'll see what happens. Or you're saying match, but like the couple, because we're talking about perfect match. But,
yeah, I know. I do that too.
We'll see what happens, but we'll make sure to keep you updated on that one because I feel like that's going to be interesting.
I think there's going to be more to come with them.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about Cordell and Serena?
Yeah.
What do you think of them together?
Well, when Cordell was giving his speech, I was like, no way he's choosing Serena right now. It felt like he was saying new and fresh, and I was like, wait, he's going to choose Hannah? But I think that I honestly think that kissing challenge for them started something better between the two of them in terms of more romantic feelings because they had never kissed before that.
Right.
And so they've been spending so much time together, getting to know each other and being so close as friends, but not having any of the physical. And so once they reached that, I mean, they were blindfolded, but once they had that feeling, I think that's what really could start something more here.
Yeah, I think it's hard for me to like think that Serena all of a sudden now had a total change of mind in terms of like that they were such a friendship couple last time. And now it's like it feels like it's one of those things where she couldn't find another option, and so it's like coming back to Cordell just because like that's what she's familiar with and comfortable with. And I don't know if it's more just like a comfortable thing rather than like actually, oh, now I actually see the romantic potential here. I don't know. I think that it's hard to, but that can come. I think, I don't know. I just don't know. And I think that I hate to keep saying this, but I just feel like we're going to have to see them interact in the future because like this is very new that they are trying again here. And we haven't seen a whole lot of them interacting since they like really made that decision to try again.
Yeah, I agree. Also, it's interesting. I feel like with Serena, she's saying like, "Oh, it takes me a while to open up or like become more like physical somewhere." She like wants to start out slower. I'm like, but on Love Island, like you can't really start out slow. Like you got to make these connections because otherwise you're gonna be being sent home.
Right,
So don't, like, you're
right.
not gonna be
Someone
able,
else is gonna make that
yeah.
connection, swoop in
So
if you don't.
maybe she's now realizing that side of it too, where she's like, okay, wait, I actually do need to have a romance part of this relationship for me to stay here.
What do you think, like, too, the first time when they broke up, they hadn't been in there very long. Like, we're only on day 10 now. So, like, I mean, when they broke up, it was like less than a week they had been in there. And so I do think that as days goes on, you probably get to know people better. And, you know, like, the more that she learned about him, maybe something there made her change her mind. It was like, oh, you know what? Like, maybe we do have a lot in common here. Like, maybe, you know, I didn't give this a fair shot. And so I think there's definitely potential that this is totally genuine and now they'll be happily ever after and never have any drama again. But I think that it is hard to just a few days later then have a total change of mind when you would kind of like been sure enough that it wasn't going to work out that you actually ended it with him rather than just kind of like playing it out and seeing what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And then to like go from that extreme to now like totally taking it back. So
Yeah, I mean, she also mentioned how he was not giving her attention anymore, and that's what made her want the attention.
oh, that's true. Yeah.
She got jealous seeing him with Nicole.
Yeah, maybe that's a sign
Yeah.
that like, okay, like, you know, even though we're not together, why am I still jealous? Like
Yeah.
that means I have feelings.
Yeah. And I mean, sometimes like just letting it cool off a little bit, I think does help. And I think she was just feeling like very overwhelmed with it at first. And then when there was the space that Cordell was giving her, then she's like, oh, wait, I really do like him. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully it's more than a friendship match and
Yeah.
they like each other more.
I think that they are both very genuine in trying again.
Yeah.
And I hope that it works.
Yeah.
You know, this time, second time is a charm.
Yeah, and it really wasn't, the first one really ended. It just kind of like was like, let's not be that serious. And now it's like, no, let's try.
Yeah. We will see what happens.
Yeah.
But let's go to Miguel and Liv. So Miguel is our newest guy, our newest bombshell, and he had a plethora of options to choose from at this recoupling, and he ended up choosing Liv. So were you surprised by that choice? Do you think that that was the best choice for him?
I'm not that surprised. I think that we saw their conversations. He seemed to be very into Liv in general when they were talking, and I feel like in that sense, he also was saying how he liked an Australian woman. So like that also, she's the only one who's Australian. I think that also had a factor. But overall, like he is attractive. Like all the girls were like, oh my gosh, we want him. And so I don't know how long he's going to actually stay with Liv. I think he has a wandering eye, especially because they just coupled up.
Yeah.
So I don't have that much faith in this couple, to be honest. I also think if there are more guy bombshells, Liv would also probably be interested. Like I don't think she's also set on Miguel. So I think both ways we're gonna see some movement there, but I like them for right now.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I think especially Miguel is going to be tempted by bombshells when they walk in. There's no way that he just totally tunnel vision on Liv for the rest of the show. Like he is going to explore his options. And yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see if Liv does, because she seems totally taken aback by the fact that he chose her, which makes me think that she maybe didn't feel that same sort of connection with him as much as he did, and maybe she'll kind of say, oh, well, this, you know, was kind of surprising choice to me, and I don't have necessarily reciprocal feelings there, and I could see her also being tempted by incoming bombshells. But yeah, no, I think that this is definitely not going to be a couple a week from now when we talk about this. I don't think that these two are still going to be together if I had to take a wild guess.
Yeah, which I feel kind of bad about for Liv's sake, because she really hasn't had a couple like that she's like felt good
in. I know.
So
I'm glad that she had the opportunity. I'm glad that he chose her because I really like Liv, and I'm glad that she's continuing in the villa, because if he hadn't chosen her, I think she probably would have gone home. I don't know who would have.
Yeah, I agree.
So glad that that she's still there, and she's now immune from our next public dumping that we have coming up
Mm,
here. So we saw at the end of the episode, sadly, Hannah was eliminated, and it was announced that the public has a vote now for our first public dumping of the season, meaning that the audience chooses their favorite couple, and the couple with the least amount of votes is up for elimination. So, who do you think, if you had to guess, the public is going to choose? Who do you think? Let's say this: who do you think is going to get the most amount of votes, and which couple do you think will get the least amount of votes?
I think Kaylor and Aaron will get the most. I think because we've seen them be the most consistent couple,
Mm-hmm.
and they're very likable people. Like they're fun to watch. I think that they'll probably be the ones who get the most. For the least, I I'm trying to. I'm not totally sure, but I feel like maybe Connor and Leah,
Mm.
or Rob and Andrea. I feel like people are just feeling polarizing feelings towards Rob or Leah, or like both of them, kind of in ways that, like, I mean, I obviously like Leah more, but Rob did Leah dirty, and I think that people will not want to see Rob for that reason.
I agree. I think it's going to be Rob and Andrea because I think
Yeah,
not only is Rob really hated, I don't think the audience really has very like warm feelings towards Andrea either,
yeah,
based on kind of how she came in, and I think that people really felt bad for Leah, and they not only associated Rob with that, but I think that they also kind of fairly or unfairly associated Andrea with that as well. And so I 100% agree. I think that they will definitely be the lowest there, unless people are just there for the drama too.
yeah.
Who knows? But yeah, I think for the most votes, I would say I think your choice of Aaron and Kaylor was probably a good one. I could also see maybe if people really are feeling bad for Leah, maybe they could even choose Connor or Leah, but I don't know. Probably not. But yeah, I
I guess
think
people also don't
probably.
really like Hakeem that much,
Yeah,
and
do they not?
I don't
Oh
know.
yeah, I guess yeah, it's not.
He hasn't gotten that great of an
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm just gonna agree with you. I think that it's boring for me to agree with you, but
edit.
I think you're right. I think Aaron and Kaylor will probably get the most. But
Yeah.
yeah. So, any thoughts for the coming week? Any predictions that you want to state now that we can look back at in a week and laugh at how wrong we are?
Oh my gosh, I know this show is moving quickly, but I don't think that Janae and Hakeem are gonna still be together next time. I'm marking that one down. And I also think that um, I'll say a couple that I still think will still be together. I do think that I think Kendall and Nicole are still going to be going strong for weeks to come.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
Yeah, I will say that I think Aaron and Kaylor will still be together.
yeah,
I think they will have gone through a little bit of drama, though. I don't think they're going to be solid the whole time. I think that there will be a bombshell that comes in on either side that tempts one or the other, depending, I guess. It'd probably be female bombshell next. So I think that Aaron maybe will kind of go a little bit too far in talking to her, and then Kaylor gets jealous, and we have a whole thing. But I think in the end, they'll still be together a week from now. And then I think for one that won't be, mm, I think Andrea and Rob might not be there anymore. But I don't think Miguel and Liv will still be together. Like I said,
yeah.
maybe I don't know. I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I don't think Connor and Leah are still gonna be together.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah, I think that Leah is going to be very distraught about it.
Yeah,
But we will see. Look,
we'll see.
so much happens this season. This is a really good
It's
season
so
so
hard to
far.
make predictions.
So yeah, but we will be back to cover it again next week. And thank you guys so much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And follow us at Let's Chat Reality on Instagram and TikTok. And we will chat with you guys next week.
Thanks so much for listening.
Bye, everyone.